p.m. All council members are present. Would you please stand and join with me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Well, tonight is one of the best nights I think that we all have, and the council loves to pose for pictures too, but we have the Parker Police Citizens Academy with us. So if you are here with the Parker Police Citizens Academy and you're a graduate, along with Commander Peters and Rory Rock, the hero of it all. She's always saying no, don't come down, join us. I'm not standing by the end. All the short people stand by the end.
That's definitely me.
Come on over.
That's a big plus. I'm gonna have to stand on the dust to be seen.
Food and guns, right? That's all we need.
See where you can see the
I
map.
just want to say a few words. Obviously, the council is behind you and always in support of our Parker Police Department. But I just want to say thank you to all of you for taking the time out to attend the Citizens Academy and really learn more about our Parker Police Department. You know, there is nowhere, Douglas County, Colorado, the United States of America, there is no better department than what we have here. And you probably learned that as you went through. You know, these certifications we receive, they're not just gimmies. They are hard fought. We have the man that champions it for us every couple of years, and our CLIA certifications, but they're not easily won. They're hard fought. You know, the people come, they interview the council, they interview me, they interview the community to say, what's so special about Parker? And every time, it's a no-brainer for them. We get, and I think we do get comments back from them too, that say, I can't believe what people say about the police department and how amazing it is. So, but there's a bigger charge here before I turn it over to Commander Peters. Now that you know the secret sauce, now that you have pretended to be a CSI investigator, an evidence room person, now that you have driven in the car with who knows who and spun around, shot an AR-15, 17, what are they? 15. All right, and done all that. Now you're officially ambassadors for the Parker Police Department. So when you hear on Facebook, Nextdoor, when you hear something negative about the Parker Police Department, it's incumbent upon you to go out and say, I know these guys, I know these women, that's not true, and let me tell you what is true. So it's a pleasure to have you here, but now the work begins for you. You know, you're part of the ambassadorship of the department, and we're really thankful. We're really thankful that y'all need to be done. Commander Peters, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you so much. Again, I tell you guys every week, it's a 15-week program that they dedicate every Thursday night to. Get to see a lot of fun stuff. Get to see, meet a lot of our folks that do a lot of hard work behind the scenes. And I've told you so many times, I have a lot of interesting job duties at the police department. Some are fun and some aren't. This is the most favorite thing that I'm a part of at the police department. I'm very proud to work for Parker PD. I'm very proud of you all and I'm proud of this program. So thank you. You guys are the 33rd Academy. 817 people graduated through here now. So thank you very much. Congratulations to you. Yeah.
More residents that have gone through than habits. More crime in Parker. If you want to join me in the middle here, we'll scooch in and come down and I'll sprint to the way right here. Yep. You're taller than I am. So. All right. We'll just hope the council doesn't.
We can get everybody to squeeze in
a
little bit more as much as possible.
Come on, we're all
Here we go. Floor, I'm with this. I'm still short. All right, 1, 2, 3. Take a couple more here. 1, 2, and 3. One more. 1, 2, 3. All right, great. Thank you.
And And if you blink, we'll crop you out.
That's you over him. Googly eyes.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
That's my sloppy fast handwriting. Yeah. Nice. Thank you. Oh.
I still didn't get that thing. I want a mini is what I want. Thank you guys for
Thank you.
everything you put into the police department.
Of course, it's why people live here.
You have a giant one of those, and you want a mini
Good,
one
that's
of those.
awesome to hear.
You're
15
killing me.
weeks. When I did it,
Killing me.
when I did it
It'll fit in
almost
your
over 10
purse.
years ago, it was 10 weeks.
It fits in my
So
purse.
yeah, you guys got us beat. Wow.
That fits in my purse. It's the same size as my laptop.
So you can just draw it, erase it, and then send it to me.
You can send it to anybody. I'll get you there.
Take some time.
All right, we'll let the rowdies get out of here.
Really could not get out of bed. I was
That sucks.
All right, next up is public comments. Public comment is an opportunity for town residents and other interested individuals to speak about items not on the agenda. This comment period is limited to 30 minutes at the beginning, and if we have more than that needed, we will pick it up at the end. I have one sign up for public comment, and that is Mr. Harold McLeod, former council member McLeod and former Rotary President McLeod. Welcome, sir.
Mr. Mayor, Council, for the record, Harold Smith McLeod. Address is 25130 East Phillips Drive in Aurora. I've come to the council tonight on behalf of both of the Rotary clubs. One, which is the Noon Club, the Cherry Creek Valley Club, and the Rotary Club of Parker, which is the Morning Club. We have a proposition for council. Basically, in 2005, the Rotary Club of Parker donated the gazebo that we have in O'Brien Park. We were in there last spring painting it and doing some repair work on behalf of ourselves and the town because we really prize that. We've decided to come to council, and both of the clubs have agreed to help pay for the lighting of the gazebo permanently, and that means 2 tiers of the fascia, not in the cupola, which is basically a little pointy thing at the top, okay? But the bottom line is you have all the infrastructure of the electrical through piping, and with that conduit, it should be a fairly easy job. You will require a master electrician, of course, but we'd like to have LED lighting, a large lighting, which will give security, and potentially the town might want to consider an upgrade as well to allow for colored lighting, to allow the LEDs to be used like you do other signage. However, the clubs have gotten together and we are willing to participate financially. And luckily, there isn't one of us that are master electricians, so nobody's going to fall off the darn thing. So that is the presentation, basically to ask council to consider that as we donated it to this town. And for those who have not been here long enough, the town actually built the foundation of the gazebo. We worked together on it and have on other projects, and we would like to do it again. Council, I thank you for your time. If you have any questions, please feel free.
Great. Thank you for that very generous offer. And our Assistant Town Manager, Lawson, is working with you all on that. And I think council's going to see something in the next couple of weeks.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. That is indeed true. Our staff from Parks and Recreation and Public Works has looked at it, and they think it's definitely something that can be done. And the town appreciates the donation, from the Rotary clubs, and we'd be happy to maintain it, it looks like, going forward. So we are looking at the pricing of commercial grade lights to do that.
Thank you, sir, and congratulations. I understand you've been promoted.
Just for tonight.
Okay, well, there you go. Well, again, council, anything other than that, questions?
I think we're good.
Thank you for your time.
Thanks, sir.
Matt. Good to see
Appreciate it. All right. Any other public comments? All right. Seeing none, we'll go on to reports, items, and comments from mayor and council. I'll start to my far right, if you're ready, Councilmember Rivero.
Thank you. Absolutely. This morning, I had the honor of meeting with Mr. Mike Gable, CEO of Parker Adventist. We talked about all things hospital and talked about things about the town. One of our larger employers, obviously very important to this community, and an incredible hospital. They're doing some wonderful things over there, and just great to catch up with Mike. Mike also is a Rotarian, so it's good to know. Let's see, on Thursday the 2nd, I had the honor of going to the Parker Chamber Member Appreciation Party. Absolutely well attended over at Barnett and Sons Brewery. Been a member of the Chamber for a long time, but also got to go with my town council hat. It was an incredible party in the sense that I got to see personally a lot of new faces, a lot of new businesses in Parker. I think the Chamber's doing an outstanding job of representing a wide swath of Parker businesses and bringing everybody into the town. And they are, next to this council, the greatest cheerleader for this community, and their goal is to bring businesses into this community. I think they're doing an excellent job. The party was incredibly well attended, and like I said, definitely some old businesses have been around for a while, but a majority of the party was new businesses to Parker, which is incredible to see. And then on the 26th, this council and this town hosted the HOA Summit, with a focus on snow removal and water. We had the honor of hosting our guest, Rebecca Tejada from Parker Water, and she was there to answer questions on some of the biggest users of water in this community are our HOAs, and all the beautiful grass fields that we see and we water every day, and it's time to do something different. And so your HOAs will be working with this community to figure out how we move forward with a more Colorado-friendly landscape. Thank you.
Councilmember Barrington.
Thank you, Mayor. So on October 24th, I had a meeting with staff and Aging Resources of Douglas County. We're looking at a way to hopefully partner with the resources we already have available in creating a campaign to raise awareness for these resources that are available for the aging population. And on the 26th, I had a board meeting with the Douglas County Housing Partnership. Also attended the HOA Summit. And on the 27th, I think we all hopefully participated in the Halloween decoration contest. We voted on, it was staff, our council pick. So that was fun. And then I also participated along with the Downtown Business Alliance in a very cold trunk or treat on the 28th. Very different weekends from last week, 2 weekends ago to this past weekend. And that's it. Thank you.
Great. Councilmember Hendricks.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I attended the HOA Summit as well, and no other updates.
Great. Councilmember Dyak.
Thank you, Mayor. On the 26th, I had an E470 board meeting. That is where we named Neil Thompson, who's Director of our Engineering, Public Works, over at E470, Interim Director. Our former Executive Director, Bo Memory, is going back home to the North Carolina area to be close to family. And Neil is our interim, and he will be there for no less than 6 months, as I've been educated based on the federal laws of the land. On the first, Dr. Cog, we had a work session. We had the governor's legislative and policy team come in and give us a briefing on on the upcoming legislative session and their perspective of it. I sent the slide deck to council for your review, and that is all. Thank you.
Councilmember Wilkes.
So on the 25th, along with the mayor, we were able to go to Bevy's Liquors and welcome Jason Momoa into our town and give him some Parker swag, which he has commented on our post. So I'm going to take that as a win, and hopefully he starts sporting that gear. On the 26th, I also attended a ribbon cutting put on by the Chamber for Swift Wash and Fold, which I'm super excited about because they do your laundry and fold it and drop it off to you. So I'm a new customer. I'm thrilled about that. On the 28th, the Downtown Business Alliance hosted the trunk or treat off Main Street, which I volunteered for, and we froze our tushies off, but we had an amazing turnout. We had over 50 vendors and over 1,000 kids, so despite the Colorado blizzard, I think it was a huge success, and it was fun to just watch all the little kids come out bundled up, but with their masks on. And then on the 2nd, along with Councilmember Rivero, we attended the Chamber Membership Party Appreciation Party. So that's all.
Councilmember Hefta.
It's always fun to hear what everybody's doing. So I went to the CML policy meeting on October 13th, and we voted on some policy questions that will eventually form the legislative, where CML stands in the legislature, Colorado State Legislature on matters. I also attended the Parker HOA Summit with my fellow council members and the mayor. With the mayor, in October, we were able to honor 7 Step Ministries for their outstanding contributions to the community. They are a rehabilitation house for men in Parker. And it was wonderful to hear the stories of how many men were able to rehabilitate and become productive members of the community in various different trades. It's really heartwarming to hear that. I also assisted a local business with some business questions. Still working with my assistant town manager, Michael Lawson, on that. I also attended a meeting in town where Ron Redd of Parker Water and Sanitation spoke and continued to update us on water in Parker. I was going to go to the trunk or treat with Brandy and her lovely husband, Corey Wilkes, in the snow. But I have to tell you that I was freezing, and so we went to, I'm very impressed that you did that. We went to the Parker Hills Bible Church Fellowship and had a wonderful trunk or treat there, and that was also a community event. And lastly, I went to the Air Force versus Army game on Saturday, and that was very exciting. Of course, you know I'm rooting for Army always. And it was sort of a blowout with 6 turnovers and a 23-3 score with Army winning. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Let's see. So I attended the Douglas County Sheriff's Office Awards ceremony this past week, and our own Ken Lavelle, Commander Ken Lavelle's son, received a life-saving award. So I didn't know his son worked for the Sheriff's Department, so that was very cool. And just to let everyone know, since you're in here and can't see it, but Town Hall is lit up in green in honor of Operation Greenlight for Veterans, the campaign created by the National Association of Counties and the National Association of County Veteran Service Officers unites municipal governments across the nation in showing support for our veterans by lighting our buildings green the week leading up to Veterans Day. And I'd like to say on behalf of all the council, Colonel Hefta, thank you for your service to our country. We appreciate you, and we're green for you. We're green for you.
And I'm in that video, too.
I know, and you'll be speaking. Awesome. With that, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Consent agenda items are considered to be routine and will be enacted with one motion and one vote. There'll be no separate discussion on any items on the agenda unless council removes them for discussion. Ordinances on the consent agenda are for introduction only and will not be removed for discussion. So council, you have items 5A through 5G for your consideration.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve consent agenda items 5A through 5G, please.
Second.
Motion is made by Rivero, second by Hendricks. Rivero?
Aye.
Barrington? Hendricks?
Yes.
Dyak?
Yes.
Wilkes?
Aye.
Hefta?
Yes.
And that passes 6-0. Just as a point of reference for our consent agenda items, we just made a proclamation for Small Business Saturday on the 25th of November. We, as a council, want to encourage you to support your Main Street shops, your local independent shops. Just remember, when you shop local, 62 cents of every dollar stays. And that pays for somebody's ballet classes, sports classes, hockey classes, versus going to, not that we don't love Walmart and Target, but you know, that goes somewhere else. But this all stays in families in Parker. So want to encourage you to do that. Next up is the town manager's report. The town manager report for autumn 2023 has been published. Assistant town manager, anything to update?
Nothing additional, sir.
Great, thank you. First up now is our public hearings. We have, I believe, 3 of those tonight. So I'm going to open this public hearing at 8:19 p.m. On ordinance number 13.111.1 on second reading, a bill for an ordinance approving the exclusion of certain property from the boundaries of the downtown Parker Business Improvement District and making findings related thereto. Madam Town Attorney?
Thank you, and I'll just note for the record that the public hearing was opened at 7:19.
Thank you.
This evening. So tonight, the town council will consider a bill for an ordinance approving the exclusion of certain property from the boundaries of the downtown Parker Business Improvement District and making findings related thereto. This ordinance describes certain real property that will be excluded from the district. 3 council members previously disclosed in written disclosure statements filed with the Colorado Secretary of State and the town clerk that they operate businesses that are located within the district's boundaries. Specifically, Ann Barrington previously disclosed that she maintains a business address at 19402 East Main Street. Josh Rivera previously disclosed that he maintains a business address at 19559 East Main Street. And Brandy Wilkes previously disclosed that she maintains a business address at 19590 East Main Street. Under Section 3.4 of the Home Rule Charter of the Town of Parker, no member of council shall vote on any question in which he has a substantial personal or financial interest. Additionally, Section 7.2 of the Home Rule Charter of the Town of Parker provides that every ordinance shall require the affirmative vote of the entire council in order to be adopted. In other words, a minimum of 4 council members must vote in the affirmative to pass an ordinance this evening. If these 3 council members are disqualified from voting because they have a personal or financial interest in the subject matter of the ordinance, then the town council will not be able to act on the ordinance. Under CRS Section 314404, subsection 3, a town council member may vote notwithstanding a personal or private interest in the matter proposed or pending before the town council if the council member's participation is necessary to obtain a quorum or otherwise enable the body to act, provided the council member complies with the voluntary disclosure requirements under state law. Here, council members Barrington, Rivera, and Wilkes have complied with the voluntary disclosure requirements. As a result, they are authorized to vote on the ordinance in order to maintain a quorum to conduct business. This is commonly referred to as the rule of necessity. So tonight we're here because a petition for exclusion was filed by Bombeck Parker LLC with the town. On October 2nd, Town Council adopted a resolution setting the public hearing date for tonight. The town clerk caused notice to be given and published in accordance with the statute. The notice informed all persons having objections to appear at this hearing and show cause why the petition should not be granted. The failure of any interested person to show cause shall be deemed an assent to exclusion. The governing body, meaning the town council, shall adopt an ordinance if the change of boundaries does not adversely affect the district. So that is your standard tonight, is whether or not the granting of the petition will adversely affect the district. The property sought to be excluded is highlighted on the attached vicinity map, or the projected vicinity map. The district's operating budget anticipates a mill levy of up to 8 mills, subject to voter approval, with an assessed value of $1,306,060. The estimated taxes payable to the district by this property would be $10,448.48. And I do believe the petitioner is here this evening and will have a presentation following your questions to me.
Great, thank you. We'll turn to staff questions. We'll start with Councilmember Hefta on staff questions.
Yes. So you said the standard again was whether the exclusion will
adversely affect the district.
Okay. So, right. So this, could we further define that standard, adversely affect the district? Is that in terms of dollars and cents in this particular matter?
Not necessarily. That's up to the council to determine what the effects are and whether they're adversely affecting the district, but the statute certainly does not indicate that it needs to only be a financial adverse effect.
Okay. So if this petitioner was excluded, how much money would that be not going to the bid?
Well, with an assessed value of $1,306,060 and supposing that the 8 mills passes at the election and is imposed by the district, the estimated taxes that would be payable by this property are $10,448.48.
And the total for the bid is 1 million?
No. According to the budget that was approved on August 21st, the entire budget for the district for next year is $150,000 with anticipated mill levy revenue of $114,000.
Okay. And so you can't really further define for us what adversely affect the district
There's there's no further direction in the statute other than that standard.
So it's up for us to come up with
To make
that.
the determination whether the effects are adversely impacting the district.
Thank you.
Councilmember Wilks.
No questions for staff.
Councilmember Dyak.
I think it's more of a comment, but I think more of a, I'll try to make it a question. So Kristen, the petition is Petitioner's Bombeck. The entity that makes this decision is the council.
Correct.
So we have a bid board that we appointed in a previous agenda. Is that
Yes,
correct?
in August, you appointed the initial bid board.
So their role in this decision making is what?
They do not have a role in this. This is a council decision.
Okay. So okay. So it would just be petitioner giving us the information as to why the exclusion does not adversely affect the district, and the district of which has $114,000 potentially of mill collections, and the projected amount is $10,448.
Correct.
Thank you.
Councilmember Hendricks.
No questions.
Councilmember Barrington.
No questions for staff, thank you.
Councilmember Rivera.
No questions for staff.
Okay, great. And do we have an applicant tonight? Oh, coming up, sir?
I think that's me.
Yeah, if you will state your name and address for the record.
Perry Becky, 7844 South Magnolia Way in Centennial, Colorado.
Go ahead, sir.
Yep. It's important to note that this is, our part is actually 2 parcels. So we're talking about excluding one. Otherwise, we'd be paying $20,000. Our tenants would be paying $20,000 a year. And we think that's unfair. I was here the 21st, the last meeting, and expressed our opposition to the 2 parcels being included with the district's boundaries, within the district's boundaries, and we gave our reasons why. One being that our property has only 800 square feet that's on Main Street. That's Little Baskin Robbins. The rest of it is fronted on Parker Road. Also, our tenants won't benefit from this. We want to be, a good neighbor and be fair, but actually when they do the promotions on Main Street and Parker Days, our parking lot is completely jammed. I mean, it's insane. We have to have tow trucks. We have to control fights. We've got filth and people dumping. We've got vendors that stay over all week, and our tenants have to shut down. They literally close their business down because their customers can't come in. They have no place to park. So it's not really a good thing to, spur more activity for us. Although, like I said, we want to be good neighbors. We, at the last hearing, we respectfully requested the district to remove the parcels, both parcels, from the bid boundaries. The council had a question at the time whether it was within their power to do that at the time. And I think that the consultants told them, yes, they did, but also told them that there is an avenue in which to do this after your decision, and that is where we are right now. And also during that time, the consultant and the attorney, I was sitting right over here, and he came up to me with a proposal, showed me the 2 different parcels, and said, what if we remove this parcel from the boundaries? Would you be interested in participating now? We told him, yes, I'm just a family member. There are 3 of us. I have to consult with the other members and council, and then we'll get back to you. And that's basically where we left it that day. And after consulting with my brother, my father, and our attorney, and looking at the potential you know, all the legal fees involved with going the full route, I called Tony Mango, who's on the board of the BID, and actually emailed him and said, I talked with a consultant during our meeting, and I didn't get his name, and we'd like to approach him and take basically what was an offer, and agree, instead of having both parcels removed, just go with the one parcel. And so he said, we'll see what we can do. The guy's name was Brad Siegel, and he said Brad Siegel's out of town for 3 weeks, but I'll get it. I'll talk to the advisors and their legal representation, and we'll see what we can come up with. He got back to me and said they're agreeable. We can help you with this. And the council drew up this petition for us, sent it to us. It was notarized, and Tony sent it into the council and talked to a few council members, I think. And we think this is a fair compromise and a reasonable, you know, what was originally something that we didn't foresee. That's all I have to say.
All right.
Any questions?
Let's go for questions of the applicant. I'll start in reverse order. Councilmember Rivera, questions?
Thank you, Mr. Becky, for being here. Appreciate your time. Can you tell me how long Goodwill has sat vacant?
About 2 years.
2 years.
Yep.
Thank you, sir.
Councilmember Barrington?
So by that sitting vacant, how much revenue are you losing?
No, we have a lease on the space. It's been vacant for other reasons, which I can't disclose at this time.
So do you feel that adding an additional tax on that could hinder your future ability to lease the space?
It's hard to say. It really is.
How many square feet is that particular space, just the Goodwill?
About 32,000. It's leased.
And then the,
We had no control over them opening it. That's where we're at right now. And it'll be good. We have a subleasee and sublessor, and they'll be going in soon. And we're excited because we don't like to have a dark space. It wasn't our first choice.
and so that's 32,000 square feet. How big is the Dollar Tree?
It's about 12,000.
Oh, significantly, okay. Let's see. I think that's all I have right now. Thank you.
Okay.
Councilmember Hendricks?
No questions, thank you.
All right, Councilmember Dyak.
Thank you. Mr. Becky, I appreciate you coming and giving us that narrative. I'll sort of kind of circle back to the standard that we had. If we exclude your this parcel, how would taking away $10,000 from the district or 9% of the revenue not adversely affect the district? I think that's the benchmark we have to consider, not if there's rent or if there's a vacancy, but how would that $10,000, taking that away from this bid, improve the bid?
Well, you're not taking away from me. I'm here representing my tenants.
Sure.
We have 20 other tenants. This gets passed on to the tenants, and they don't need the extra expense.
Yeah. But, and I understand that from your perspective, from your tenant's perspective, but our position is to our positions from a district standpoint. We're speaking on behalf, or we're protectors, or I don't know what the word is, but we need to ensure that if we make any changes to the boundaries of this district, that it will not adversely affect the district. I mean, I certainly hear that this will potentially adversely affect your tenants because of the pass-through, but from a district standpoint, if we take the money away from the district, how would it benefit the district?
Well, I don't think it would be a detriment to the district. I don't know how it would benefit.
Okay.
I don't know much about it.
Okay.
except that we felt like we were annexed.
Okay.
And it wasn't fair.
Okay, there was a significant, Mr. Siegel, I think was employed by the bid to do a significant outreach over a number of months.
Right.
Did you participate in that or have conversations?
A few, yeah. The initial map I got of the boundaries went miles out to the west. They included Safeway, they included some of the other properties there, and then we didn't think it had much of a chance of going through. Well, they obviously felt so too. I'm putting my, I'm doing their thinking for them, but
Sure.
it's probably because they had too many big players against the bid because they probably wouldn't have voted for it.
Okay.
So all of a sudden, we get this document, and the borders have been completely reworked, and it cut off right at Parker Road, and we're in it, and they're out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we're a big chunk of it.
Sure. No, I mean, I just kind of knowing the report outs, the consultant provided outreach and had discussions, and the boundaries were malleable based on those discussions. And what came before us in the public meeting that you attended on the 21st was the final thought. So once we approve it, we as council have to sort of take the district into mind, because we approve the district, the boundaries. Mr. Siegel, a consultant, the board, as our counselor indicated, the board doesn't have a role in this. It's mainly us and you as the petitioner. And our legal standard, or not legal, but our standard of care would be if we choose to exclude you, we would need to understand how excluding you, and to me, I'm the finance guy, how excluding you and reducing the projected revenue by roughly 9% would benefit the district. So I think that's kind of where I'm at. Thank you.
Councilmember Wilks, questions for the applicant?
Hello.
So the building that you're wanting to exclude, it's just the one that the old Goodwill sat in that currently shares with the Dollar Tree, is that correct?
Correct.
So it's 2 tenants?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So in your earlier statements, you were stating that this would adversely affect your 20-plus tenants, but it sounds like your other building and your other tenants, you're on board with moving forward with the bid. Is that correct?
We are now, yeah.
Okay. And part of your wanting to exclude just this one building is because you had a discussion and an agreement with Puma and with the BID board, or at least a member of the board, and this is, in your opinion, a win-win for both the BID and for your buildings.
Exactly.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Hefta.
I just want to thank you for coming here and working to find a solution and a compromise based on your view of the situation with your family and the attorney as well. I feel like that shows a lot of good faith to try to work this out. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And we will call you back up. We're going to open it for public comment, but we'll call you back up if you want to address any comments made during public comment.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, with that, we're going to, at 7:38, open it for public comment. Anyone from the public wishing to make a comment on ordinance number 13.111.1? And if you'll state your name and address for the record, and we'll give you your 3 minutes.
Yeah, Omar Castillo, 12509 Prince Creek Drive, Parker, Colorado, 80134. Good evening, Mayor and Town Council. A few months ago, we were here to discuss and have you vote to create the bid, which unanimously passed 6-0. We are here now, as Mr. Becky said, to have a petition to remove a parcel from the bid. As much as I see his point and the petitioner's point and where he is coming from, I personally can't lean one way or the other to agree to let this parcel out of the bid. The last 5 years that I've been involved in the DBA, the last 2 years in the chair of the DBA, and one of the helping founders of the Business Improvement District, I've spent an enormous amount of time learning, studying, educating people on bids, and have put on a lot of effort talking to a lot of business owners, visiting other bids, talking to other bid directors, And what I found that every time talking to folks, and what I found, especially talking to the existing bids as well as the bid directors, is that everybody benefits from the bid. Whether folks believe they don't benefit from it or not, that's a different story, but we all benefit from it. Quick story, if I may. Fall Festival. I'm here working the Fall Festival for the DBA Beer Garden. My mom and dad come up from eastern Colorado. My brothers come down here. They come up to see my kids play sports. After all the sports are said and done, they come to downtown Parker, see me, spend some time with me. And then after the fact, the kids are hungry from a full days of sports. My wife goes to McDonald's, gets some chicken nuggets, right? During that time frame, while they're eating, my mom and dad, my two brothers, hit up Portofino's. While they're eating there, and my kids get done with McDonald's, they hit up Dollar Tree to get some supplies for the kids' projects. While they're doing that, they finally get done. My parents and brothers get done eating at Portofino's. They get done eating there. They go to Baskin Robbins. Then they go over to Kilwins. After that, mom and dad go home. Kids go home. Brothers decide to stay out and hang out in the downtown Parker. They hit up Parker Garage. They hit up Tailgate, Nightcap at Studio. How does anybody not benefit from that? That's 9 different businesses touched by 6 different people. Those 2 of them, including our kids. So how does everybody not benefit? To me, is just mind-boggling situation. There's a lot that the bid can do with 9% of what we are missing out on these particular parcels, on these 2 parcels. With the way things are coming up in downtown Parker and some of the other buildings that are coming up, we need this money to help us get done some of the stuff that we've been visiting with the business owners about, that we've been talking through about, and some of even the stuff that they want, that they've thought of, that the bid can provide for them, is stuff that we haven't been able to think of just because we are learning as we go. But there's a lot of things that a lot of our small business owners want that this bid can do for them, such as creating extra security during the weekends. It's creating the events. It's creating and also taking care of cleaning downtown, beautifying, improving, marketing. The list goes on and on and on of what the Business Improvement District can do for this great community. And if we don't start doing something now with it and taking Parker to the next level, we are going to, as I said before, we're going to get left behind, and folks are going to leave and visit other downtowns. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Any other public comment?
Hello. Tony Mango, 8632 Thunderbird Road, Parker, Colorado. I'll kind of confirm everything that Mr. Becky said. I think that was kind of true events. I think it's a little unfortunate that a hired consultant was kind of negotiating, in the back of the room per se. That probably wasn't the best way for this to get us to this point. But I will say, on his behalf, I'm very appreciative of my conversations with him that other parcel he was not objecting to. And that other parcel has mainly small businesses that Omar was talking about, and his parcel in question is more of the big box. It's a little off Main Street. It's not touching Main Street. So I do have to say, to Mr. Becky's benefit, that maintaining that one property is critical for the bid. I wouldn't have objected if you remove it. This is a tough decision. I see both sides of it. I think there would be benefit for him, but I also do agree you're dealing with kind of a big box retail type situation there. This isn't your small Main Street business. So I guess I kind of leave this to you and wish you all luck, but I do agree that I think I wouldn't personally object to it, and I support him allowing that other parcel to be within the district that is probably more important to the district. So, thanks.
Thank you. Any other public comment on ordinance 813-1111? Nope. See none. Mr. Becky, any comments to the public comments?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you, sir. All right, with that, I'm going to close the public hearing at 7:44 and bring it back to council for comments. We'll start with Councilmember Hefta.
So this is a difficult decision. No, I did not have anything to drink tonight. Slurring my words here. You have a business that wants to be excluded from the bid. You have a history of the Downtown Business Association over the last 12 years, putting on many, many functions for the town, increasing a lot of business to the downtown businesses, really working hard to make a flourishing downtown, really working hard with volunteers on no salary, very limited funds. And that has increased everyone's revenue in the downtown area, including the old Goodwill area, Baskin-Robbins, the entire downtown. You have a business owner that has several businesses and would maybe be paying $20,000 instead of $10,000. And that business will be eventually filled. So that store that will be eventually filled, and that will be part of the bid. That would be a business within the district. And that would be a property making money. So this is a difficult decision. And in this particular case, I find that this exclusion would adversely affect the district. So I will say no on this matter, but I do appreciate Mr. Beckett coming here with his family tonight to plead his case.
Councilmember Wilkes?
Can I ask a question of staff real quick?
Sure.
Okay. If the business is excluded and they do see the benefits after the bid's approved and everything's happening and they want back in, they can petition to go back into the bid, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. So it's hard because the benefit, it's hard for people to see unless you've been giving your blood, sweat, and tears to see what it takes to put on the events and what it takes to keep downtown clean. And it's really hard. So on one side, of course, I see the benefit. And then on the other side, I have to hear what one of our appointed board members is telling us and what the property owner is telling us, that they've come to a win-win on keeping the higher retail multiple tenant buildings in and excluding the one big box building. And I personally think that they'll see the benefit of this really soon once the bid's in effect and it starts doing its magic. That's the best word I can use for it. So I want to hear what my other counsel says, but as of right this second, I like that there is at least a win-win here.
Councilmember Dyack?
Thank you, Mayor. With apologies, the council member Hefta, I mean, this isn't really very hard. I was expecting some type of presentation that would articulate how the exclusion of this property financially or any kind of other incidental would be beneficial to the district. I mean, to me, the projected amount of mills, roughly 9%. That's a significant amount. I was open to special situations. Mr. Becky indicated that he was here more for his tenants than he was for himself. It's just I'm reading into it. I can only assume it's probably a pass-through or some sort of CAM reclaim. I don't want to speculate, but to me, I just, quite honestly, I remember a pretty long and involved process where a consultant was engaged to discuss, to have outreach based on the initial thoughts, dreams, if you will, of what a bid could be. And then through that outreach and discussions, certain parcels were eliminated before it came to council. I believe, the win-win would have been better consummated back when there were interactions with consultant and businesses. I heard Mr. Becky had a couple of maps. I didn't hear the level of of engagement with consultant, the amount of times that he went to those open houses or the presentations that were put before the DBA or before the town council in a work session. To me, if our duty is to the district, I believe 9% is something too great to say no to. So I would be a no on this.
Councilmember Hendricks?
Yeah, this is a bit of a doozy for me too. I do see both sides, but I agree with Councilman Dyak that we have a duty to the bid, and I don't see how this improves it. So I will be saying no.
Councilmember Barrington?
I also can see both sides better than when I came here tonight. I was very adamant at the last meeting that these boundaries had been very thoughtfully and carefully thought out. It's a part of the gateway to our town. I asked the question, do you feel adding an additional tax would further hinder your ability to lease this space? And I didn't really get the answer I was thinking I might get. You didn't really have an answer. I respect our building owners and board members downtown, and I think that it sounded like it could have been a win-win to exclude just this area. But I still want to hear maybe what the rest of council has to say. When you specifically point out Parker Days, this is one event that's actually put on by the chamber. I think that there's a lot of other events that could definitely benefit all the businesses down there. So I would like to hear what Council Member Rivero has to say, and then if anybody else has any further comment.
Councilmember Rivero?
Thank you for that intro. For me, I've been part of this from the beginning. I was an advocate for the bid when I had Omar's seat, for lack of a better word, as president of the Downtown Development Council. We were pushing for a bid back in 10 and 11, trying to get out of the recession. I'm definitely a proponent of the bid. I believe in the local ability for those businesses to benefit themselves. As I said on the hearing to establish the bid, it's a hodgepodge of groups and businesses down there and property owners, and everybody has to work together to market themselves, as Omar said so eloquently, to get out to everybody. But the important part here is that we are competing regionally, that we are competing as a downtown with the downtown that will be built directly west of us at Lone Tree. We are competing with the downtown that was built to order in Southlands. We are competing with our county seat and their downtown that's larger than ours and more established than ours, and we have to be marketable. With all that said, there's definitely a lot of hang up on the word adversely affect. For me, in my opinion, as the judge I am tonight, there is no adversely affect because nothing has been established yet. This is a dynamic. This was dynamic up until the night that we heard this ordinance. And there was negotiations right there in front of me at those two steps, because I think Mr. Becky sat in the same seat he's sitting in now. And I watched the consultant walk up to him, and I wondered in the back of my head, what are they talking about? Now we know. So I don't know that it can adversely affect anything because we haven't started anything yet, and it's still up to a vote. And I'm going to hang my hat on that. I understand Councilman Dyak's point that we established an ordinance and this is in effect, and this will collect X number of dollars. But to me, everybody buying into this bid makes this more valuable. And I, as I sit here myself, in my own opinion, see everybody buying into this more beneficial than having a split group, having an angry group. We're trying to work out the very first bid in our downtown that I've been after for 12, 13 years now. So in my point, I believe I am in favor of the ordinance. I believe that this is local control, and I understand that the ultimate decision sits with this body, with these judges that are sitting up here today. But with that, I have the ability to make my own way on the evidence and my own way on what the criteria is we're asking tonight. And does it not adversely affect to me? No, it doesn't, because we are establishing that bid tonight also. So that's my case.
So we'll go one more time around, just now that everyone's heard, and I'm hearing that you wanted to hear that. So Councilmember Hefta, any add-on now that you've heard from the entire council?
I think Councilmember Rivero makes a very good point. I would just key on that point that I think going forward, everybody has to be part of this. I think to make exclusions at this point, when you are part of the downtown area, that leased space is part of the downtown area. It snows there, it gets dirty there. Okay, the business, as Omar stated, comes in there. I know myself, I go to a lot of those businesses in there, Dollar Store, McDonald's, Portofino's, Baskin-Robbins, Kilwins on a regular basis, Parker Garage, Tailgate, you name it. So for the sake of unity, for the sake of this moving forward, I would not approve this ordinance to exclude this property from the bid. I would not.
Councilmember Wilkes?
So Councilmember Rivero said it much more eloquently than me. I still think that the building owner could have came forward and said he wants all of his things removed. And even if we said no to that, he still has a voice and he still has a vote. And then he could be mad at the bid and make a negative vote, and then the bid wouldn't get approved. And that would hurt every business because the bid is worth it. And we want to make sure that our businesses are happy and our building owners are happy, but also that the bid is successful, because what it's trying to bring to downtown is going to fill the needs more than just events. I know that people fixate on the events, but it's more than events. It really is doing the things that, the complaints are about. Parker Days is not a DBA event, it's a chamber event, but with the BID, cleaning up after Parker Days could be part of it. Beautification of the lights to draw more people down could be part of it. Like Councilmember Rivera said, we don't know what it looks like because we're building it. With that being said, I still see that we're looking at 9%, which I understand where Councilmember Diak's coming from, but to me, I still have to trust, like what was stated. We have an official for who the bid hired, and we have a board member, appointed board member for the bid, both saying this is a win-win. So for me, I still have hopes that they're going to see how great the bid is and they're going to want back in here real soon. So,
Councilmember Diak, any follow-up?
Yeah. Kristen, what was our, on the 21st, our first thing, what was that action? Was that to create the boundaries, to create the district? And if so, what documents were presented to us?
So on the 21st, you passed an ordinance to organize the bid and to provide for an appointed board of directors and to appoint the initial directors and approve the operation plan and budget. And what was submitted to you at that point was a petition for formation of the bid.
And we had a budget at that point in time.
Yes.
Yeah. So again, to me, respectfully, we created the bid in essence on the 21st. I looked at the budget, the financials. I thought they were very modest based upon the beginning discussions. I think taking revenue away from the district doesn't make a whole lot of sense, especially 9%. I mean, that to me is a material amount. If we want to compete, if we want to preserve, if we want to beautify, enhance, all those adjectives, action word, description words. As you can tell, I'm probably not the English major here. I'm a numbers guy. But I mean, to me, I think you're going to need every dollar and then some to kind of get some of these initiatives off the deck. You know, throughout the years, we've heard people come and go. Business owners want different things, want different initiatives going to create activity. In this area helps everybody within this area. I believe the traffic, I believe the parking situationally is challenging, but that's an attractor to have people come to your area so you can create offerings to that group of people. That's almost nirvana to some of those retail businesses. So, I mean, to me, I on the 21st looked at that and looked at the budget. The creation of the bid, for lack of a better term, was back then. My yes vote was predicated upon the budget and all the organizational documents. Taking anything away from the bid, I think, would harm, hinder, and significantly create an uphill battle for the district to do what they need to do.
Councilmember Hendricks?
No update.
Councilmember Barrington?
So I feel like Mr. Mango, you know, having the conversation with Mr. Becky, that the two of them came up with a good faith solution. But after hearing the rest of the evidence, I don't think that I can support him being taken out.
Councilmember Rivera, any final thoughts?
Thank you. This is one of the things that makes a council incredible is the differing opinion. We get a lot in the public about how we rubber stamp everything, especially Dyack and I. You know, I've been up here a long time and we get along and we agree on everything, but we don't. We don't always agree. ADUs come to mind. Stove in the basement, excuse me. I look at this as a dynamic organization. I look at us trying to establish it. It was dynamic up until the point that it was voted on in this dais. You know, it was being negotiated with the consultant. It can grow. That was heard tonight from our council, that it can still grow by just petitioning in. So, you know, showing its wealth and showing its benefit to me and its success from the start, I do disagree with my longtime friend, Councilman Dyack, that this is putting them at a disadvantage. To exclude is putting them at a disadvantage from the beginning. I think it's the opposite. I think we are working to allow the businesses to succeed without the government telling them how to succeed. I have always been an advocate of the market, and I believe that this is a small market, but it is the market, and it should be up to the businesses to decide what is best for themselves. And they're doing that through their vote for this bid. I mean, as we speak, they're deciding on whether or not they want to be part of it. But if this was finalized and done and everything was presented to us on that night of the 21st as a done deal, I may feel differently, but it wasn't presented to us that way. It was still kind of up in the air, and there were still a lot of questions, and we were figuring it out, and the consultant said this, and the lawyers said this, and so to me, not everybody knew. So for me, it's more adverse to this organization to not exclude. I'm in favor of exclusion.
All right, with that, Madam Town Attorney,
Go ahead, Mr. Mayor.
are you going for your mic?
I was just going to assist with the motion tonight after sort of hearing council comments.
Okay.
My preference would be that we go with the motion, the recommended motion that's in the staff report, which is a positive motion to approve the ordinance, and get a second, and then take the vote on that ordinance as opposed to trying to make a negative motion and voting yes means one thing and no means another. It can get kind of confusing.
So I will entertain a motion on ordinance number 13-111.1.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve ordinance number 13.111.1 on second reading, sir.
I'll second.
Motion was made by Rivera, second by Hendricks on the approval of the exclusion. Rivera,
Aye.
Barrington,
No.
Hendricks,
No.
Dyak,
No.
Wilkes,
Aye.
Hefta,
No.
and that motion fails 2-4.
Correct. Now, if I could get a motion from the council to direct the town attorney to draft findings consistent with the failure to adopt ordinance number 13.111.1 for council action at the council meeting on December 4th.
So moved.
Second.
Dyak, second by Rivera. So the motion was made by Dyak, seconded by Rivera. Rivera,
Aye.
Barrington,
Yes.
Hendricks.
Yes.
Dyak.
Yes.
Wilkes.
Aye.
Hefta.
Yes.
And that passes 6-0. Next up is ordinance number 1.593 on first reading, and I will open up the public hearing at 8:05 PM. It is a bill for an ordinance to adopt the 2024 budget and to make appropriations for the same. Madam Finance Director, welcome.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. We're here tonight with the first public hearing for the 2024 budget. I can tell you that the numbers that make up this budget are so exciting because there are so many wonderful projects that we have been waiting for several years to have happen. And as a result of the 3 years of 10-year planning, we have positioned ourselves very well to kick off about $100 million worth of infrastructure projects within the town. So that includes everything from roads and buildings and expansions of this building. And it's just going to be, I think, a trying time, but a very exciting time here. So it's great to truly see that positive flow from the long-range plan and the 10 years that we pull together into that and see how that has been able to impact our 2024 budget. I've had several people ask me, are you really going through that whole presentation? No, I'm not
Said
going
yes,
to.
yes. Suffer in silence, yes.
We are not going to do that. For the public's benefit and the people in the room, Council has had several opportunities to review this information. We had a study session back in September, and we've also had follow-up study sessions. So we've had the opportunity to present it in detail. There are a couple of things I do want to highlight, though, before we actually get into the numbers. The first thing is under our fiscal stress. I do want to just continue to point out the town sales tax results. We now have 7 months where we have been at 4% or below year-to-date growth. So we just completed one more month that falls in that category. That has made budgeting for next year very perplexing, as I said during the earlier studies or budget retreat. The next thing I want to highlight is just the budget goals and assumptions. These are important guidelines for us as we go through pulling the budget together. They are the same as you've seen in other years, so we won't go over those in any detail. The budget process starts, I believe, with the long-range plan. So that started back in late spring, early summer. We moved from there into the budget. And we will go until January 31st, when the budget is actually required to be filed with the state of Colorado, and we also file with the GFOA, hopefully to obtain one more year's worth of recognition for our budget work. The budget schedule shows the dates that have been involved. We're not going anywhere? Okay.
Sorry.
All right, so here's the budget schedule. We are at November 6th tonight with the first reading of the budget. The second reading is scheduled for 2 weeks from tonight. And then again, as I mentioned, January 31st is kind of our drop dead date. And with that, we're going to just jump into the numbers. I will talk about scoring as we go along. So the first fund we're going to take a look at tonight is our Parks and Recreation Fund. This is the fund that has responsibility for all of the construction projects related to our parks, to our trails, and et cetera. So with our 2024 budget, we have $10 million of expenditures. Our revenues are $14 million, which means that our cash balance is growing. We have a large cash balance here, and that's our intention still at this point. In 2025, the 10-year plan shows, and I anticipate the budget will also, that the construction on Salisbury Park North will commence, and we need to have that money set aside to be able to do that. This fund also, we controlled some of the projects that came forward in 2024. Nothing has been put totally aside. They've been moved back to be able to accommodate the construction of Salisbury Park North. The projects are listed in priority order. There are several of them listed here, so you can see how $2 million in capital is going to be spent out of our Parks and Rec Fund, and that's a very low amount for this fund. Moving on from Parks and Rec, we'll go to the Recreation Fund. This is where the operations for our Parks and Recreation Department resides. So here we have the numbers you can see. We have our cash balance increasing. One of the reasons for that is we are implementing those funds that are reliant on sales tax dollars. We are trying to drive to that 25% cash to total expenditures, and you can see that we're not quite there with this 2024 budget. It is not a requirement, so this is totally acceptable. The cost recovery, which is our charges for services to total expenditures in this fund, Mary Colton was in front of you, I'm going to say maybe 2 months ago now, because time goes by so fast, and talked to you about how they look at that cost recovery number. The goal that she put forth to council was maintaining a 60 to 80% cost recovery ratio, and you can see we are in that range with the 2024 budget. There are 11 capital projects in this fund for 2024. The expenditures here are, I'm going to say minimal. They're not large dollar because most of that those construction dollars do come out of our other fund. So here you see primarily the replacement of aging equipment. With that, we'll move on to our cultural fund. So here, I'm going to highlight something just because I know sometimes you all get the question of, well, I thought the budget was supposed to be balanced. Well, a balanced budget does not mean that revenue has to equal expenditures. So we can use cash balance, and you're seeing that we are drawing down cash balance in several areas for the 2024 budget. Here's one example of where we are. And so that cash balance is coming down a little over $300,000 in 2024. Now, that's not huge, but we do make sure as we go through our planning process that any use of cash balance is for a one-time item. Because if you think about it, if we don't have that cash coming in year after year, we can't support operating expense with it. So we are using that for one-time items. Again, this fund works very similar to the recreation fund. So we are looking at that percent of cash to total expenditures. We are right at that 25% with this budget. And the cost recovery here is declining. What we're seeing in the cultural fund is as they geared back up after COVID, and with the inflationary impacts that they're having with some of their events, we are seeing that percentage decline. Carrie and her team are very actively looking and reviewing that all the time, and so I'm sure they will continue to address that. We have several capital projects that are budgeted in the cultural fund for next year, just to the tune of a little over $1 million. Again, it's replacement of aging equipment for the most part. We'll move on to our capital projects fund. So we have several funds in this category. The first one is our Capital Renewal and Replacement Reserve Fund. That's a mouthful at this time of night. Here again, here's an example where we're using cash balance. So we have $39.7 million going out of this fund in this proposed budget. That breaks down to $13 million for a proposed garage at the Pace Center, with the remaining $26.7 million to be utilized for the expansion of Town Hall. So that cash balance is coming down from $53 million down to $22 million. Also, FYI, in the revenue line, both for the 23 projection and for the 24 budget, there's $5 million in each of those years that is coming from P3. So P3 is actually funding the construction of the garage to the tune of $10 million, and the town is putting in just $3 million. We are accounting for and managing the project within the town, so that's why you see this revenue coming in here and the expense for the garage coming out. With that, we'll move on to our largest fund within the town. It's our Public Improvements Fund. This is where all of our major streets projects reside. You can see that we have just a little over $50 million in expenditures. Hence why I say we have a lot of activity going on in '24, which follows a busy year this year also. So we have $49 million of revenue. Included in that revenue is $24.2 million, which is a transfer from the excise tax fund. The excise tax fund we'll get to next, but that fund actually has, the purpose of it is to gather those excise tax dollars that are collected and then utilize them for infrastructure projects. And so that's what we are doing here. Our major project this year, as we go to the capital project listing, is Lincoln Widening at $23 million. And so we needed a little extra cash here to be able to make all of these projects happen. Again, all of the projects that came forward from the Public Works Department for this fund were approved. And it takes moving some money around. Kind of, I've talked about the puzzle pieces before, moving those puzzle pieces, trying to get the most bang for our buck. So we have done that here with over $46 million of capital projects in our Public Improvements Fund in this proposed budget. The next fund is our Excise Tax Fund. So here again, you can see where the cash balance is coming down. Included in the expenditure line is the transfer to the Public Improvements Fund to make those expense items happen. And that's probably the highlights there. Our Enterprise Fund, we have one fund that falls under this category. It is our Stormwater Utility Fund. Enterprise funds have to be run like a regular business, so they have to support themselves. Here we ran into an issue as we were pulling the budget together for 2024 when we realized that the 2023 projection had a cash balance that was under $1 million. If you think about the types of activities that run through this fund and the types of maybe unplanned expenses that could occur, having less than $1 million sitting there to address those needs is very low. So we have made the effort to, again, reprioritize what is coming through in 2024. Again, nothing is being put totally aside, but in order to maximize what is completed during the 24 budget year, along with building that cash balance up to where it needs to be, we had to put a couple of things aside to next year, and they will come back. With that, you can see the projects. The first two are funded through the revenue in this fund. The last three items here are being sponsored by P3 again. So there is revenue coming in from P3 into this fund to make these three infrastructure projects reality. With that, we'll go to our internal services funds, and our fleet services fund is primarily in existence to collect money from the departments in the town that take advantage of having town-owned vehicles and having maintenance performed on them by town employees. So you can see it kind of depends how much we spend on our vehicle replacement from year to year. 2022 was actually impacted by the supply chain issues that we were still experiencing after the pandemic. What you see here for 2023 projection and for 24 are more realistic with what we usually see on an annual basis. Moving from there to our Facility Services Fund. This fund is in existence to provide the maintenance for all of our town-owned buildings. The primary reason I wanted to talk about this fund is here you see one of our additional FTEs, and I forgot to mention that at the beginning. So we have 18 and a half new full-time equivalent is the meaning for the acronym FTE. And so we have one position that is going into our Facility Services Fund here. Moving from there to our IT fund. IT actually completed a network study with an outside consultant. One of the findings of that study was that we needed to beef up our network staffing. So included in this budget is an FTE for a network administrator. The last internal service fund is our medical benefits fund. And the good news here is our employees are not going to be experiencing any increase in their premium costs for medical coverage for 2024. We have had last year, we live in several years always in finance. So last year being 2022, we had very healthy period of time with our employees. We've continued to see that. So in spite of the inflationary impacts, which I've seen that some organizations are seeing up to a 25% increase in their premium medical costs, we are going to see none on the behalf of our employees. So I think that's one of the really good pieces of news out of this budget. With that, we're going to shift to the general fund, and we're going to go a little bit slower because the general fund is the home for most of the departments in the town, so there's a lot of activity here. And here's the slide that just befuddles me. So you can see here our annual sales tax growth rate year after year, starting in 2017 through what we have included in our 2024 budget. If you recall, our 2023 budget had an 8% increase. We're seeing half of that, as I mentioned earlier. And so with an average across this time period of between 5 and 6%, we decided to go with a 5% growth in sales tax. I think that is thoughtful, careful. It shouldn't put the town into a situation where if there is a drop in sales tax growth that it's not doable. So I think we're in a good place with that, but Linda and I can have conversations for days on that one to figure out where it should end up. So anybody who has a crystal ball and a better answer, I'm all for it. We'll move on from there to, I think at the retreat I said this is the messy slide, and I know it, but I don't know how else to present all of these numbers in a concise way. So we've got our top 5 revenue sources, and as always you can see we start with sales tax at $58 million, and our bottom category for revenue is all of $1.7 million. So we drop off rapidly. We are very dependent on our sales tax. You can see that these top 5 items, the percent that they are to our total general fund revenue, fluctuates a little bit, and only a little bit. We go between 84, 85, 86% when we look at those numbers. And then when we look at the percent of sales tax to our total general fund revenue, you can see there again, there just isn't much variability. It's 70 to 71%. So when you think about it, we provide the majority of our services to the town residents off of our sales tax collections. The next slide takes just a little bit different look at our total revenue. It gives all of the major categories and looks at the total revenue. You can see that we are looking at 4% growth in our 2024 budget in revenue, and that includes our transfers in, although without the transfers in, it's still really 4%. From there, our expense, we are looking at some different categories. We're going to go into some more detail on a couple of these line items, salary and benefits and supplies, just because the increases are so large. So that's a look at our total expenditures. From there, let's dive into our salary and benefit assumptions a little bit. So you can see here are the, if we start with our 2023 projection number for salary and benefits, this is how we grow from that number to our 2024 proposed budget number. A full budget for all positions. So as we kind of say back in our corner, we budget for butts in every single seat for 12 months out of the year. Do we have that? No, we know that. But to be careful and conservative with our expense numbers, that is the approach that we take. We do have about a half a dozen positions that we do not budget, put budget dollars in for. That comes nowhere close to offsetting the vacancies that we have. But to start with, we put in a full budget for all of our positions. We are budgeting, and I'm going to stress for employees in the room listening, whatever, we budget 6% for the increase for this year for performance pay and the PD officer step plan. That doesn't mean that's what we'll give. It will be dependent upon the work that HR does as we move into next year. Increased benefit costs, as I mentioned, are zero. There is an ongoing compensation study plan in HR, and so we have set aside $1 million, just like we did last year, in case there are steps that need to be taken in conjunction with the findings of that study. And then in the general fund, so you saw where two of the incremental FTEs are in the previous slides. The remaining are here in the general fund, 16.5, with the majority of those positions in the police department. So we will move from there, and here's the breakout. So we have 12.5 new positions going into the police department, with most of those being our commissioned police officers, 2 communication tech positions, and a part-time crime scene investigator. Then within the Public Works Department, you can see that there are 4 more positions that are included. I'd say this is the largest increase in FTEs that we've had in many years here at the town. So it's nice to be able to catch up and be able to fund those. The supplies line increased on a high percentage point. The dollar amounts aren't anywhere as high as the salary and benefit numbers, but here are the drivers of our increase in our supplies cost from our 2023 budget. We have the police department purchasing Axon equipment, tasers, cameras, etc. Also purchasing some other police department equipment. And then the item in the middle is one of those examples of where we are working to either maintain or improve our services to the town. So we are increasing our snow removal supply budget by $150,000. From there, we'll take a quick look at our capital in this fund. The general fund is not typically home to a lot of capital expenditures, or at least not high dollar items. We have 27 projects, I believe it is, for 2024, everywhere from $500,000 and below. So nothing is a huge expenditure from a capital perspective. So about $4.1 million in capital for our general fund. Here is a quick snapshot of the town's outstanding debt. The first item is our sales and use tax note. This matures in 2025, so next year we'll be talking about that going away. Our 2019 COPs, we refinanced, I think it was 2 years ago. And then the 2014 COPs were refinanced, I want to say maybe 7 or 8 years ago. And we're going to talk about those a little bit more, just like we did at the budget retreat with the next page. So these COPs are callable effective November 1. So what does that mean? This is the first time since we refinanced these COPs that they are available for the town to pay them off. So, or we could refinance them. My proposal in the budget is that we go ahead and defease the COPs. And so what does that mean? It means that we would use $13 million out of the general fund to pay that debt off. The town would save $3.3 million in interest expense. And John, over the life of this debt, the average interest rate was 3.28%. And for the time period of 2024 through 2034, the average interest rate is 4.2%. So while we obtained these COPs in a low interest environment, the way it works is the interest expense creeps up over the life of the debt. So it's a little bit higher. It's probably about equal to or maybe a little bit below what we would issue debt for going forward. The other question council raised during the budget retreat was, is there a need for debt? Does it make sense to keep this? This, again, is the benefit of having a 10-year financial plan in place. That plan does not show any need for any incremental debt over the 10-year period. And so I think it makes sense to save the $3.3 million. The savings with the general fund actually making the payment for this debt, the savings actually benefit both the Stormwater Fund and the Parks and Rec Fund, which are the two funds that we kind of had to jiggle projects around with. And so it makes sense for those funds to have some savings and build their cash balances up more quickly. And then with the next slide, we've got the summary of our cash revenue expense. We've listed out the transfers out in detail so that you can see where general fund dollars go to in addition to taking care of things in the general fund. We are just a little above our 25% required cash to expense ratio. Little bit of flexibility there in case the economy drops in the first quarter, like some investment banks are still saying. With that, I will take any questions or comments.
So we'll start to my left. Councilmember Dyak, noting the late hour tonight.
Yeah, no. I mean, I think.
And it's an hour later.
I think the budget retreat was great for all of us to hear some more expansive detail, to kind of hear the good work that's done. The 10-year plan we instituted a couple of years ago, 3, 4, I don't know.
3.
Is good. It shows us a path. We sometimes have some aggressive ideas or maybe even crazy ideas as to what we can do when we come on to council or when we think a little too much, but without having that information and that guide, it really puts it in context. And what we get is we get predictable results. We get the ability to pay off long-term debt early. We get the ability to, when we have a couple years of outlier sales tax collectibles funds, we can put those to good use because we have good plans and we have unfunded opportunities, which we don't know how we're going to do. But when we have those opportunities, those funds that become present, it becomes a real easy conversation. So thank you, Mary Lou, to you and your staff for all you're doing.
Thanks.
Councilmember Wilks, questions?
No questions, thank you.
Councilmember Hefta?
Just taking point with Councilmember Dyak. My only thoughts of spending any money were shade structures
And benches.
And benches. And that is not a whole lot. But no, Mary Lou, excellent job as always. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councilmember Hendricks?
Yeah, great job. Thank you.
Councilmember Barrington?
Term keeps coming to mind, and I don't even know if it's a real thing, but I'm like thinking financial Tetris. Is that even a thing?
Sure.
The game of Tetris? I just, thank you. I'll save I have a comment, but I'll save that for that later. Thank you.
Councilmember Rivera?
I just I wonder if it's relevant that the only two guys that got all their ass are the two guys in the room.
Why aren't you guys close to each other and like high-fiving each other or something like that, huh?
There are other departments that also got everything that they
okay.
asked
All
for.
right.
They're not favored children.
I just wonder, I mean, with everybody's talk currently with the election and with the commissioner's warranted challenge to the state, it's important to point out how small the contribution of property tax is to this budget. Could you go back to that slide or just show that real quick?
Back to the top 5. There you go.
So yeah, 70 million, and we're taking 3 million from property tax, so not a significant.
And for full disclosure to council, not knowing what's going to happen tomorrow with Proposition HH, when the budget was pulled together, obviously we did this 3 or 4 months ago on the revenue side. We just assumed this was a year where valuations would kick in, but we assumed they were kicking in at kind of our normal rate. So we do not have the 30 to 40% valuation increase reflected here, nor do we have anything lower than what we would normally expect. I think the budget will be fine, no matter what the outcome is tomorrow. And this is the budget that I would recommend that we move forward with and we not tinker with that dollar amount just because it is relatively small in the total scope of things.
Yeah, I think it's important to note that the monies we are saving by paying off the COP are greater than the revenues we're gaining from property tax.
All right, with that, we'll open it for public comment at 8:36. Anyone from the public wishing to make comment on ordinance number 1.593? Seeing none, we'll close it at 8:36, and we'll also close the public hearing at 8:36. Bring it back to council for any final comments. Councilmember Rivera?
As always, an incredible job by the team in front of us tonight and everybody up in the back corner of the building. You guys do an amazing work. It is everything that gets done in this community has to go through your offices, and I speak kudos to you every time. You guys win awards every time. We have national recognition every year. Absolutely amazing budget and fiscally conservative budget. And the 10-year CIP is brilliant, and we're seeing it come to fruition now. So I thank you all very, very much for your hard work. And just for the public's edification, I think, again, it's been pointed out, we have a whole retreat on this budget. We have a study session on this budget. This is first reading, and then we'll have second reading. So we have seen this a few times now. We're not just running through it. It's something we do dig into, and I think we all have a very healthy book at home on our desks that we're digging into ourselves. So thank you again for your time tonight. Well done.
Councilmember Barrington?
So I guess just with the ups and downs of the sales tax and the high of 18.4 in 21, I know it's a roller coaster. It's a lot of toilet paper. Right. Great job, and I think I would like to just put a patent on that name, Financial Tetris. And I'll, of course, give that to you. But thank you. This is a balancing act, and I say this every year, job security.
Okay.
Thank you.
Councilmember Hendricks?
Yeah, great job again. Thank you.
Councilmember Dyack?
As always, my comments were in the questions section.
Like, do you have a question now that we're there?
I don't.
Okay. Councilmember Wilkes?
So in studying the budgets in the years past, but seeing them after they're already public, being able to deep dive into them and see the whole process this year, it's just given me an even better appreciation for what the town does and what the staff does. So thank you.
Councilmember Hefta.
We are very fortunate in the town of Parker to have such a highly qualified finance team led by Mary Lou. Thank you.
And with that, I will entertain a motion on ordinance number 1.593.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve ordinance 1.593 on first reading, please.
Motion is
me.
made by Rivera, second by
Mr. Mayor,
Barrington.
I need the full motion to also schedule the public hearing,
Don't have it open. I was trying to.
or sorry, to schedule second reading for November 20th.
Ordinance number 1.593 on first reading, and to schedule second reading for November 20th, 2023.
I'll second.
All right. Motion was now made by Hendrick, seconded by Barrington. Rivera?
Aye.
Barrington?
Yes.
Hendricks?
Yes.
Dyak?
Yes.
Wilkes?
Aye.
Hefta?
Yes.
And that passes 6-0. Next up, and I will open this at 8:40 p.m., is a public hearing on Shopping Center Assistance Program and Agreement for Kings Point Retail LLC.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. How are you this evening?
Good.
Good. So we are here tonight to talk about a application we got for the Shopping Center Assistance Program from Kings Point Retail LLC. This is off of the northwest corner of Cottonwood Drive and Kings Point Way. So the shopping center program is part of section 4.10100 of the town's municipal code. So Kings Point is proposing to develop an 8-acre site up there with a shopping center consisting of 3 buildings. One of those buildings would be a 40,000 square foot building leased to Whole Foods, and 2 smaller 2,500 square foot retail buildings that at this point do not have tenants. So I'm going to go through how this project meets the goals written out in the town code for this application. The location of this project also is where the future Aurora Parkway is going to connect in. So this will be a gateway into town for Parker that we don't see today. Sorry, that's kind of in my face, weird. And this site actually does have some extraordinary off-site requirements for the development that are typically mostly involving our stormwater infrastructure that will need to be put in for the development and several utility relocations. Kings Point has submitted a request for financial assistance in the amount of $3.2 million to offset a portion of these infrastructure components that need to be added to the site. The retail sales from this project are estimated to be about $36.6 million per year and grow to $59 million a year by year 10. Whole Foods operations will also employ at least 50 plus full-time equivalent, the FTE, that Mary Lou talked about, and construction is anticipated to begin in early 2023 or late 2023, looking closer to early 2024. Kings Point has several basis for participating. The code requires several of these aspects. It is part of a shopping center, meaning it has more than 2 buildings being constructed in the same center. That's why it's the Shopping Center Assistance Program. Those 2 buildings have to have a gross floor area of over 30,000 square feet. We're meeting that criteria here. Of all the retailers that need to be in this shopping center, at least 50% of them need to be sales tax generating uses. Whole Foods will take up the majority of the buildings being developed and cover that 50% threshold. They have to have no less than 50 employees that they will be adding to the town in the full-time equivalent. The proposal has to be contractually obligated to make all the public improvements required either by zoning or subdivision ordinance that is part of the entire planning process that identified these costs that are outlined further in the report. The participation in the program shall be based on the applicant's ability to provide significant public or quasi-public improvements. In the chapter further down, there is a list of all the public improvements or quasi-public improvements that are going to be necessary for this project. And that the proposed shopping center meets or exceeds each of the criteria set forth herein may apply, this is all very legal, of taxes and fees generated by the proposed shopping center as follows. We cannot rebate more than 50% of what the project is producing, and that 50% cannot exceed more than 10 years. I want to quantify the sales tax that we can share back excludes the Parks and Rec 0.5%. So it is the 2.5% of the town's sales tax that is eligible to be reimbursed. Let's see. So that is the project in a nutshell with the quasi-public improvements. For the criteria of approval for council to review this, the following points this project makes that meets those is the development of a high-quality retail-supported commercial center. This does add retail diversity to the town, something we don't currently have today. Represents a diversity of jobs and employment opportunities with the additional job, develops public or quasi-public improvements associated with the project, and generates new sales tax. Of the list provided of the quasi-public improvements and public improvements, it's about $4.2 million in expense for this project. A highlight of the project financial information is the total project cost is about an $18 million project. The anticipated food and beverage sales tax over 10 years is about $469 million in sales. So over a 10-year period, the Parker's Park and Rec sales tax will get about $2.3 million. The town-generated sales tax would be $11.7 million. Total anticipated revenues to the town are just over $14 million. The applicant has requested a sales tax rebate of 50% of the enhanced sales tax, so the net new that's coming in over a period of 7 years, or $3.2 million. Mary Lou and I did go through these numbers, so there is a percentage that makes it enhanced, meaning we have taken out a certain amount that may already be in the town that this project would cannibalize, is what it's called. So we have taken that into account to come up with that enhanced sales tax number. Are there any questions about the proposed application?
Okay, we'll start with Councilmember Hendricks. Any questions for Weldy?
No questions, thank you.
Okay, Councilmember Barrington? Councilmember Rivero?
Have we, in our history of shopping center agreements and things, tools like that, have we done 7 years before, or is this the first time this ask has come before us?
So we have done varying amounts. There is no, I pulled them all throughout history to see if there was a certain percentage. They are very tailored to each request. We have gone up to the maximum of 10 years on some. Okay. Some have been much smaller in time, 3
not
to
abnormal
5.
at all?
Huh?
Not abnormal in your opinion at all?
Not abnormal, no.
Thank you.
Councilmember Dyak, questions?
Questions about the application?
Questions about from the staff.
Oh, that opens it up. But
From
I'll pay.
Weldy about the specific.
Not
application.
this.
Okay, all right.
I have a question,
Can't ask
but
general stuff.
I just don't want to be, it's too late. Let's
All
go.
right. Councilmember Wilkes.
No questions, thank you.
Councilmember Hefta.
Just to put it in historical perspective, I see that we adopted this ordinance for the shopping center. I did some research on the whole thing today, Chapter 4.10 of the municipal code back in 2009.
Correct.
So how many shopping centers have we actually assisted since then?
This application is the second. The only project that has been approved for the shopping center assistance program is Pine Bluffs. And I don't know when exactly that was approved, but that is the only one that has been approved and is still active. There have been iterations under different programs, the Tax and Fee Assistance Program. Before that, I think it was called STIP. So there have been different iterations. This one is specifically for multiple buildings being built and maintaining that 50% sales tax threshold.
And not that I expect you to know the answer to this question, but maybe our town attorney does. Could you discuss the genesis of why we needed this ordinance back in 2009 for the, but we enacted this ordinance. It's a ordinance for a shopping center assistance program. So based on this ordinance, if a applicant meets the criteria for the ordinance, then and the town council approves it, they are eligible to get some of these items paid for by the town of Parker. Is that right, Weldy?
So essentially,
Does that work?
I was not directly involved with the creation of this program. I was kind of on the outside. The issue we had typically with utilizing the TAP program in multi-tenant buildings and multiple buildings is there was no guarantee that they would fill it with sales tax generating uses. So my understanding that this was a program that would still allow that, but also make sure that we're getting sales tax generating uses to benefit the town's financials in the future. Beyond that, I am not clear anything else about why this program was put into place.
Right.
Mayor.
I feel like
For my time, so I don't have anything to add to that conversation either.
Josh may have an answer.
Okay, so we'll go with council member, thank you for that answer. We'll go with council member Rivero's input as well.
I wondered, I know that coming out of the recession, it changed the dynamic where communities were competing to land commercial properties, and we needed to put tools in our toolbox in order to, I was not up at this table, I was out in the audience at this time, but we had to put tools in our toolbox in order to make ourselves viable to commercial projects and the businesses we wanted. Would you say that's fair?
that is fair. And we are always looking at these programs and trying to make sure that we are staying competitive with our neighbors as well as doing our best to preserve the sales tax that Mary Lou just explained how it's utilized and spread out throughout the town.
Thank you.
All right. And well, do we have an applicant?
We
tonight for
do.
the Presentation? Great. Come on up, sir. No stranger in town hall, obviously, but.
The man
come
with
on
many
up.
hats.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. My name is Tom George. I'm an attorney with Spencer Fain. Happy to be with you again tonight. My address at work is 1700 Lincoln Street, Denver, Colorado, 80203. I'm here tonight on behalf of the property owner. Also with me is Julie Gamick with THK Associates, can answer technical questions. We don't have a presentation, just want to take a moment to say thank you to town staff, to Weldy, also to your town attorney and your former town attorney, always courteous and professional to work with. We thank them for their help, and happy to answer questions you might have.
Excellent. We'll start to my left with questions. Councilmember Dyak?
No questions, just thank you for your service and look forward to this development.
Councilmember Wilkes?
No questions, thank you.
Councilmember Hefta?
No questions.
Councilmember Hendricks?
No questions.
Councilmember Barrington?
No questions.
And Councilmember Rivero?
No questions. Appreciate you coming down tonight, both of you. Thank you. And your patience through the budget.
Thank you. Thanks, sir. All right, with that, we will open it for public comment at 8:52 PM. Anyone from the public? Seeing no public here, we'll close it at 8:52. Bring it back in the council in that same order for any final comments. Councilmember Dyak.
No, I mean, I think it's a great development. Obviously, with front-end costs appreciating and the need to get this through the finish line, happy to entertain this application. Whole Foods is one of those buzz names. I think I was, that and Trader Joe's and In-N-Out, and I don't know what else is going to come next. Whataburger.
Yeah.
Whataburger. So
many Texans.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think especially people in South Aurora, they're very excited. They come to Costco. We just need to get a road more direct to get them here. So hopefully Aurora Parkway starts soon. Thank you.
Councilmember Wilkes?
No comments, thank you.
Councilmember Hefta?
Just from a legal perspective, I took time today to review Chapter 4.10 of the Parker Municipal Code. I took the time to review the criteria and how this applicant had to qualify for this program. So it is a significant chapter and significant criteria to even apply for this program, and then on top of it, satisfy the criteria. There is a lot of criteria. I'm not going to list all of the criteria. If anybody out there watching and listening today has a packet, they could see the criteria 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and numerous points in between A to I on the criteria. So for anyone thinking that this is a giveaway program of funds from the town of Parker, it's not. This ordinance was passed back in 2009, and there is significant criteria that the applicant must meet to gain assistance from the town for this program. So I would encourage anyone listening to look at that criteria. It's in Chapter 4.10 of the Parker Municipal Code. And I think the specific criteria is 4.0.2.090. Thank you.
Councilmember Hendricks?
I'm good, thanks.
Councilmember Barrington?
I know there were a lot of years that we all have been talking about getting a Whole Foods, and we just didn't ever think this was going to come to fruition. So I'd like to thank everyone that was involved before my time. But I think it was very timely having the budget discussion right before this, because with our expenses jumping and sales tax going down, this is definitely something that I think we need to see happen. And so what we can do to support it, I'm in support of. Thank you.
And Councilman Rivera.
I think that's been said by Councilman Dyak. There was Trader Joe's, there was In-N-Out, and there was Whole Foods. And Murdoch's too. I think people wanted a Murdoch's for a while. Anyway, we're getting them. We've got them. I think back to the recession, and I think back to the vacancy rates that we had back then, and the tools that we had to create, and the hard work of Weldy's department back in the day, filling those vacancies and going to ICSC and selling the town and having tools in the toolbox to get these things done. I think it's important to state that this is a shareback. The upfront cost of this infrastructure comes from this developer. This developer invests in this community and invests in this community with a high-quality shopping center that the public wants. And then, upon success of said shopping center and said businesses in shopping center, those businesses create sales tax, and to a sufficient amount, we will rebate some of that sales tax to cover some of the initial investment by that developer. This is not a check for $3.2 million that goes out the door. They are tied to this. They are vested in this. I think it's also important to note Kings Point, or Cha-Ching Boulevard, that will feed Aurora into Parker and allow Aurora citizens and Arapahoe County citizens to come down to Parker, spend their money at our Whole Foods, and go home. And we don't have to service them. We don't have to police their streets. We don't have to pave their streets. Those dollars come in from Arapahoe County and Aurora and come into our coffers. And you saw what we do with those dollars. It is always beneficial to have those shopping centers on the edges of our communities and capture those unincorporated dollars coming into our community, those incorporated dollars as far as Aurora is concerned. So this is a win-win in my book. As Councilwoman Hefta greatly pointed out, there are 5 criteria we have to weigh this on, and I find that they have met all 5 criteria. I'll specifically point out the amount of fees of the sales tax. Criteria 1, the amount of fees of sales tax which is reasonably anticipated to be derived by the town through the establishment of the proposed shopping center, and criteria 4, the conformance of the applicant's proposed shopping center with the comprehensive plan and zoning ordinance of the town. There is a significant infrastructure cost to this development, and it is only in our best interest to invest in that cost to benefit this community by a want. The citizens have been exclaiming for at least the last 12 years. Well done.
Excellent. With that, council, I'll entertain a motion on the shopping center assistance program agreement.
I move to approve the Shopping Center Assistance Program Agreement for Kings Point Retail LLC.
Second.
Motion is made by Wilks, seconded by Hefta. Rivero?
Aye.
Barrington?
Yes.
Hendricks?
Yes.
Dyak?
Yes.
Wilks?
Aye.
Hefta?
Yes.
And that passes 6-0. Moving on to contracts over $500,000. Our first one is Jordan Road, Cedar Gulch Parkway Traffic Signal, CIP 22-056. Mr. Hudson.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Tonight, I'm here to talk about the bid that we opened for the Jordan Road Cedar Gulch traffic signal. Vicinity maps up there. Last year, we did a warrant study which showed the need for this traffic signal. We commenced design. And this project turned out to be a little bit more than your typical traffic signal because of an extensive amount of concrete and asphalt pavement on the east side of the intersection to repair, not really repair, but address and repair some geometry issues on the east side of the intersection. We opened bids on October 3rd. We got 6 bids. You can see the range up there. Lowest bid was from Sturgeon Electric Company. Sturgeon has completed several traffic signals for the town, both as a general contractor and as a subcontractor in the past 10 years. And staff recommends moving forward with the award of this bid to Sturgeon Electric Company. Assuming that the contract is awarded tonight, we anticipate construction to commence it next year. You may ask yourself, why does it take so long to build a traffic signal? Seems really simple. Signal poles are running 6-month lead times right now. Got to get them ordered, get in the production food chain, and we'll have this thing operational probably late summer of next year. Again, the recommendations move forward with Sturgeon Electric, and the funds are available to cover this in the traffic control fund. With that, I'll answer any questions you might have about this intersection.
All right, we'll start to my far right, Councilman Rivero. Questions?
Thank you. $870 for a full lit intersection. That seems, I don't know, I don't want to say cheap, but a pretty good price.
When you layer in the about $200,000 in concrete work that's involved, and that's including this bid, plus all of the design costs and power source costs, they add up. The total cost of the signal is approaching $1 million. We have never touched that before, Josh. This is a very unique situation because the amount of concrete repair and improvement on the east side that has to be done with this intersection.
All right, thank you.
Councilmember Barrington, questions?
No questions, thank you.
Councilmember Hendricks, question? Councilmember Dyak?
I remember when signals were like $200,000, like $2 to $250.
25 years ago, they were about $200,000.
Well, even we started like 11, 12 years ago. Yeah, it was great.
The good old days.
Was there like an engineer's estimate on this thing? I mean, are we close?
We're close. We're a little bit over. We are. The concrete work was more expensive than we anticipated, and that's just the nature of the labor market right now.
Yep. Thanks.
Councilmember Wilks?
When we're going to put in a traffic signal, do the houses that back up to where the traffic signal will be, do they ever have a complaint about that? Do they have a say in that?
So occasionally we get some homes that are very close to the intersections that do complain about trespass light. We do get complaints sometimes about noise because, again, now cars have to stop depending on how the traffic operation is. But we've done different methods to address some of these concerns. Is there a solution that works every time? No. We have to deal with it one-on-one. We've had to put up light shields before. We've done optically programmable heads trying to keep the trespass light out of people's yards. You know, at this intersection right now, we basically have one residential corner there on the southeast corner. I don't think it's going to be that big of a concern, but if the issues come up, we'll address them.
Thank you.
Councilmember Hefta.
No questions.
All right, with that, we'll open it for public comment at 9:04 PM. Anyone from the public? Seeing none, we'll close it at 9:04. Council, any further questions, comments? Councilman Rivera?
No, this is a big intersection. It's Jordan Road is quite wide here, so getting southbound from eastbound is it's a risky move. So I'm glad it's getting lit, especially since that is a dump for that residential to the southeast coming out of that intersection, and also Auburn Hills on the west. So it's well done. I know, for example, the light by Councilwoman Wilkes' house was contested a little bit, and we did use some light shields and some Frenzel lenses, for lack of a better word, to aim the traffic lights exactly where they needed to be, and it worked out really well. It was actually one of the critics came back and complimented the town for the work that was done. Former critic that used to live in somebody's house, exactly, and was very complimentary of the job that the town did. So I have no doubt we'll do the same thing here.
Councilmember Barrington.
No comments, thank you.
Councilmember Hendricks. Councilor Dyak.
Nothing, thank you.
Councilmember Wilkes.
I was actually going to say I have a traffic light right outside my bedroom window, and the light never bothers me. So it's good to know that we can do a lot of those measures when we need to. So thank you.
And Councilmember Hefta.
As always, thanks to the engineering and public works for staying on top of these matters.
All right, council will entertain a motion on the Jordan Road Cedar Gulch Parkway traffic signal.
I move to approve the staff recommendation as part of the regular agenda.
Second.
Motion is made by Barrington, seconded by Wilkes. Rivera.
Aye.
Barrington.
Yes.
Hendricks.
Yes.
Dyak.
Yes.
Wilkes.
Aye.
Hefta.
Yes.
And that passes 6-0. With no other business before the Parker Town Council, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion is made by Hefta, seconded by Wilkes. Rivera.
Aye.
Barrington.
Yes.
Hendricks. Dyak.
No.
Wilkes.
Aye.
Hefta.
Yes.
And that motion passes 5.